A video game that can be genuinely unpredictable is likely a game you should play at some point. It takes a special type of narrative to constantly change your expectations of what's going to come next. And of course, when you get to the end, you're punched in the stomach one last time.
The happy ending in a way is a cliche in of itself. Good guy beats the bad guy, gets the girl and then rides off into the sunset, tying up all the loose ends and leaving the game with a feeling of intense satisfaction. I'm not saying that's a bad thing and you can't imagine, say, a Mario game with anything other than a pleasant conclusion, but damn! Some games have a sting in their tails. I guess it's just how these kind of endings go against what we'd like to happen in the game. Most people want to end off a game with all the problems sorted out. Hero does their work and the world is a better place. And I'm not talking about bad endings or what happens when you don't do everything properly. These are the finales where you as a gamer are punished for doing all you can. It's brutal, but set up in the right way, devilishly effective. And I'm going to say this now because last time I mentioned that I was going to spoil some games, people still found something to complain about, but guess what? There's some pretty massive fucking spoilers coming up. I'll give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about, but after that you're on your own. Can't fight all your battles for you.
Mother 3 is very quietly, maybe not so, because the internet exists and, spoiled some of the game and it's got a reputation nowadays, but it's surprisingly one of the darkest games you'll ever play. It might be accentuated by the fact that it's such a cheery looking game, but there's so many grim moments, more than I could care to count.
Which in a way, at least for a list like this, counts against Mother 3 when considering unexpectedly depressing conclusions. I mean, you constantly work your way through enemies and obstacles in hope rather than expectation that everything's going to work out fine in the end. But of course, knowing this game like you do, anticipating anything other than a grim finale is frankly quite naive. And of course, when you reach the last of the 7 needles you need to pull in order to stop Porky and the Masked Man from awakening a dragon, the Masked Man shows up to do battle with Lucas. You want a final twist? The Masked Man is and has always been Lucas's brother Klaus, who was killed earlier in the game, revived by Porky and brainwashed to do his bidding. He only starts to regain his senses having zapped the crap out of his dad Flint, and kills himself by reflecting his own spell off Lucas's Franklin badge. This leaves Lucas to pull the final needle and bring about the end of the world. Admittedly, it seems like quite a lot of people survived as you fumble around in the pitch black epilogue, but not a lot of people survived this game to begin with. The silver lining to one hell of a black cloud. There are some games where you'd expect a bit of a downer ending. Maybe you go through the game and every 2 seconds someone dies or someone starts crying, or any variation of lots of tragic shit happening on a very frequent basis. But chilling out on the other side of the room, pissing on devils and flinging toilet paper at a sentient pile of crap is Conker's Bad Fur Day. A game so chock full of movie references and vulgar humour that you'd think this would be the literal last place to find a gloomy ending.
Conker's Bad Fur Day may be offensive in places, but it does so with such an air of innocence that you very quickly grow to love it, which makes it even more heartbreaking by the time you get to the final mission and you matrix your way through a bank vault. That is fine, we can do that all day. But you get to the bank vault, and then all hell breaks loose.
Where do I start with this one? Well, Conker's girlfriend Berry is gunned down by this mafia weasel guy. Some xenomorph shenanigans happen and then the fourth wall just kind of disappears as this invisible programmer fixes all of Conker's problems. Except Conker forgot to ask the programmer to revive Berry, we're thrown back to the scene from the start of the game, and we hear Conker wishing for the life he had before. This ending acts as effectively the handbrake on a game that very rarely took itself seriously. In one fell swoop, you're presented with a situation where Conker is living with regret, accepting his circumstances, and there's not a joke in sight. The original ending was supposed to have him commit suicide, but I think what they chose in the end works much better, where Conker has to face what he's got himself into, and we never hear from him again. You wait for the punchline, and there isn't one. Sometimes you work so hard in a video game. I mean, in the space of a few hours, you can put so much effort in that you build this emotional connection to the characters in the game, both NPC and of course the guy you're playing as. So long as you've got control, there's not a damn thing that the game can throw at you that you won't be able to handle. Or so you'd think. For the most part, Red Dead Redemption remains firmly within your own comfort zone. You trot around the American West as John Marston, dealing with a variety of threats and being this badass former outlaw cowboy character. But, as often is the case with somewhere as volatile as the Old West, you're not too far away from absolute chaos. Even worse is where your previous life catches up to you. So when Martson helps some US soldiers take down his former gang leader, it's perhaps not much of a surprise when the government come looking for him now he's free to live with his family. Except these people actually want to kill him. That's okay, I've killed loads of people in this game before. I'm sure I can handle this. Oh, maybe not then. Maybe the game will kill off the main protagonist regardless how well I do at this last stand. Well, at least your family's safe.
Putting a gamer in this kind of position where no matter how many people you kill in this last stand, you will end up dying anyway, is so effective. It makes you wonder that if you were better at this game, maybe John Marston would have survived. If you don't know otherwise, you feel mainly responsible for his death. And that's not a good feeling. Self-sacrifice is everywhere in modern media. It's seen as one of the more noble things you can do in order to preserve someone's life. It really helps to hit home the fact that this is a good person doing this. They're dying a hero's death, or they're just too cool to stay alive. And as we've seen in the last entry, it really means a lot when it's you doing the self-sacrificing.
And so we arrive at Nier, spelt N-I-E-R, an ARPG developed by Square Enix that I swear to God is hard to find in an American-made antique. Some would argue that it isn't really worth finding because despite what I'm about to talk about, it is a flawed game in many different areas, ranging from lifeless environments to this strange mess of gameplay styles. Thankfully, this video hasn't got a damn thing to do with any of that, and is instead about some miserable story-related events, which this game does absolutely fine. I'll save you a lot of backstory because this mostly speaks for itself. Nier actually has 4 different endings that you get from playing through the game a couple of times, and they're not exactly a bundle of laughs. More specifically, I'm talking about Ending C and D, where you're given the option to either kill your now evil corrupted companion, Ending C, or you can erase your own existence in order to save her, Ending D. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because should you sacrifice yourself to save Kane, you literally erase everything. And not just that no one remembers you, I mean you have to erase your fucking save file. Thankfully the game warns you if you're not keen on that option, but in terms of linking story and gameplay together, this is one of the best examples you're ever gonna see. You even get to see everything you've worked towards slowly disappear as you see the magnitude of your sacrifice. Well, at least you managed to save someone. Unlike... Expectations of certain genres exist only to be smashed apart. You go into some games preempting what you'll end up doing during your adventure. Shooters are some of the easiest. Stride around putting holes in any bad guys you come across, save the day, blow things up, bada bing bada boom, thanks for playing, buy the next game in a couple of months. A true 10 out of 10 experience. But this level of expectancy can work in your favour if you do something completely different.
Most people play shooter games as a form of escapism. It can easily be applied to most if not all video games. But first and third person shooters let you become that hero that isn't so easily attainable in everyday life. That is if you're playing any other game than Spec Ops: The Line.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dubai and Spec Ops: The Line, the third person shooter game that goes from gut punch to gut punch and even the occasional kick to the delicate area. You're supposed to be investigating Dubai after it's been hit by a huge sandstorm, trying to find out if there's anyone alive around here. As it so happens, there's a lot of people still here, including a group of American soldiers who have taken over Dubai and placed its remaining citizens under a brutal form of martial law. The main protagonist, Captain Walker, investigates further with his partners Lugo and Adams, discovering that this is all the work of John Conrad, someone who saved Walker's life when they were stationed together in Afghanistan. You find this out a few moments after you've just dumped white phosphorus on 47 civilians, but we'll get back to that in due time. The game gets ugly fast. You're given a choice between 2 people to execute. An agent for the CIA ropes you in to deprive the entire city of water. Lugo is killed by a mob of civilians just after you crash a helicopter. Adams is presumably killed after he makes a last stand, giving you enough space to make a run for Conrad's tower. And then you find Conrad and he's been dead since before the start of the game. Instead, a lot of the threat you've been facing has been fabricated by your war-torn mind to justify the actions you've taken with only half the facts at your disposal. You as a gamer just gun down the people you're told to gun down, not knowing who they are or what their intentions are, or even if what you're doing is the right thing. You might play a shooter wanting to feel heroic, to feel like the saviour, but you end up feeling like the complete opposite.
This has been RabbidLuigi, and Spec Ops: The Line is like the counter-stereotype to the vast majority of shooters on the market today. where there's a heavy weight on every single action you take, where you become less and less certain of what you're doing as you progress through the game. The next time you find yourself halfway playing through a first or third person shooter, just stop for a bit and ask yourself, do you feel like a hero yet?
Want to have a say on what I talk about next week? Leave a top 5 suggestion in the comments section below and go follow me on Twitter, where later in the week I'll be compiling the best submissions and setting up a vote over there. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that. Can you really enjoy a video about somber topics like this? I don't know, I think it's always interesting explaining exactly why you'd find them depressing, and there's plenty of things to mention. But anyway, be sure to head over to Twitter and Facebook so you can find out immediately if I'm going to be doing another serious topic, and also to vote for the top 5 polls when they come around. Try and pick a happier one next time.